Let us take a look at what she has said. Let's take a look at what Jodi Whittaker has said about how she's blaming the male audience. No, I don't think, Leo, I don't need to take a break in the moment, so we're just gonna jump right in. We'll just jump right in. Okay. So, let us see why Jodi Whittaker is blaming men for quote-unquote killing the doctor. Why she is blaming what was the core audience to begin with. Let us not forget, the core audience of Doctor Who has always been men. So, let's see what she has to say. My rage button is primed and ready, so let's go.
Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here.
Sorry, Neon. It's the rules. When Geeky's on screen, you get covered. Sorry. It's the rules. My hands are tied. Well, I wish they were, but they're metaphorically tied. Sorry.
With Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about how Jodi Whittaker is blaming men for the failure of Doctor Who. We're talking a lot about...
like Blame Men Day?
Yeah.
This is.
It's like every day anymore.
Geeky, no, this has been Blame Men decade. Okay? People have been blaming men for the entertainment, for the downfall of the entertainment industry for probably a decade now. So, it's not just a day. That's why I had that one video where I went rage mode. That Hero Hate video that was only 3 minutes and turned into an hour, and I went absolutely rage mode about people treating men like shit for International Men's Day. So yeah, it's not the day. It's the last decade.
This is really interesting because this goes
Yes,
along
I've
with
said that from
the
the
video I
beginning.
did yesterday. The Wrap put an article out talking about how Hollywood doesn't have a lot of male role models anymore. So men and boys don't know who to look up to, and they're looking up to people like Mr. Beast because there aren't any strong role models, but they're also simultaneously afraid of strong role models in Hollywood because they're afraid.
Wait. This article is saying that Hollywood doesn't have strong male role models. It's because Hollywood's been cucking all of the men in the entertainment industry. How surprising is it when every male you put into the entertainment industry, you cuck? I know, it's, yeah, like, why are they putting Captain America here as, like, role models are failing men? Like, what the actual... I'm not sure what article this is. Big shock. But this is obviously going to be political as fuck, this article. He's not going to be talking about this. This is obviously going to be a political as fuck email because of this right here. So, yeah. Revan, I don't know. Who knows with this fucking writer?
It's going to push Trumpism. What Jodi Whittaker is saying actually goes back to Peter Davison, who's the fifth Doctor, who said when they cast her, he said that the casting of a female Doctor meant that there was going to be a loss of a role model for boys, and here we are. Boys didn't watch, men didn't watch Doctor Who, but the thing is,
neither did girls.
This is what's so weird about it. Actually, she got the best ratings at first for years.
The one who didn't want a female doctor wasn't you, it was me.
Well, we can talk about that because that actually came up too, that there are a lot of women that are tuning out of these shows, these franchises, because they actually tuned in for the men, the male characters.
One of the biggest audiences for Doctor Who were women watching it for, like, doctors, and that they had the companion. There was like stuff going on there. That's why they watched it. But female Doctor Who, Jodi Whittaker's Doctor Who failed because the first season did.
Revan? I disagree. Jodi Whittaker being cast, I don't consider the sign of failure. Like I've said before, when it was announced that Jodi Whittaker was cast as a doctor, I actually thought, oh, this is interesting. I was intrigued, and actually I was looking forward to seeing Jodi Whittaker as the doctor because this was a direction that Doctor Who had not gone. And I was actually very interested and very intrigued on what they would do with it because they could have done something really great with it. So I don't consider it her mere casting to be the sign of failure. What failed was the writing. Well, okay, Redmond, I'm going to disagree with that because in the case of the Doctor, this is a character that regenerates into a whole other person. Now, I do understand why you're thinking that way. And I've talked about this before, where in the modern age, we have become very gun shy whenever an entertainment product has like a woman or what is colloquially considered a marginalized individual in it. And
Hollywood is being ran by a bunch of misandrists.
Largely, yes, but I initially did not take it that way when Jodi Whittaker was cast. Hey, well, I mean, you could say minority. That I'm trying to not utilize that term because it's not just like ethnicity. It's basically they're anytime a person, a character that is female, LGBT, or not non-white is like a lead. Society has become very gun shy. And a lot of people, their brain instantly goes to what's the agenda? Is this an agenda movie? Understandably so. It is understandable because what has led up to this is the agenda or the message getting shoved down people's throats. And so now when someone tries to do a legitimately good film or TV show, and the lead character happens to be female, happens to be LGBT, happens to be non-white, people, because of pattern recognition, people are going, okay, where's the agenda? This has got to be an agenda film, when it may not be. So when Jodi and I try very hard to keep an open mind, and that's why when Jodi Whittaker was cast in the role, I was like, okay, this is interesting. We've seen that Time Lords can regenerate into a different gender. We've seen this. It was established with Missy, so we know it can be done. And this could be interesting. How is this going to be a new and interesting take on the Doctor? How is a female Doctor going to handle all the stuff that the Doctor's been getting into for years? A different viewpoint on it. How is this going to work? And unfortunately, it went all the wrong ways. Now, that is a failure of the writing and the showrunner, not a failure of the casting. Oh, Zeb, really? So that must have been, okay, that must have been he must have talked about that prior to Eccleston, because I have not, other than a couple of Tom Bakers, I have not really seen any of the OG Doctor Who before Eccleston. So yeah, so I mean, this is not like, this is an established thing that could have happened. And that's why I was like, I was good with this. I was excited about it. And then the episodes actually aired, and I went, oh. And again, that is a failure of the writers and the showrunner. It is not a failure of casting a woman in the role. That is a very big distinction. Now, some people, yes, I'm sure some people were saying, oh, you're casting a woman as the Doctor. modern Hollywood, etc., likely stemming from the gun shyness that I'm talking about. Undoubtedly, that's where it came from. And it's understandable. It is understandable. But again, this is what happens when you cram this shit down people's throats for years and, fillet them when they say this sucks and they say you're an istophobist and basically just victim blame the audience for years. This is what happens. So now apparently Jodi Whittaker is doing the same goddamn thing. So this ain't gonna be good.
Didn't even have the classic Doctor Who.
In Tom Baker's run as the Doctor, he had a female Time Lord as a companion. Her name was Romana. When she regenerated, she tested several bodies, including a couple of males.
Interesting, Andrea. Cool. Okay, so it's like the Doctor regenerating into a woman is not out of canon. It's been well established as canon, which a lot of people conveniently forgot about when they were bitching and moaning about the Doctor regenerating into a female.
Villains in it. The villain was men and you and
misogyny
Rosa
and racism.
Parks. Doctor put Rosa Parks on the back of the bus. Stuff like that. It was stupid. It was being written as if it were a soap opera where there was a lot of talking in a cafe. Men don't want to watch that. They weren't watching Doctor Who for that shit.
Well, they hired soap opera writers to work on
That's
it.
what I'm saying. It was like talking and
here we
talking
got it,
and
Jack.
your feelings.
Thank you.
Men don't want to watch that shit.
Women don't want to watch it either because a lot of them, I mean, at least for New Who, a lot of them like the younger, attractive doctors, and they like the romantic subplots, even though that was not part of classic Who. And a lot of longtime Whovians kind of roll their eyes at the whole, but that worked to bring the female audience in. And that goes back to what I was talking about yesterday, that where men and women do look for different things.
Yeah, it's which is to be expected, because don't forget, like when the Master became Missy, that was probably that was back during during Capaldi's run, and that was when that happened, it was the beginning of what we are now seeing in full force when it comes to Hollywood and the messaging. And when the Master became Missy, that was probably back in, God, when was that? Was that around like 2015 or 2016? Oh, excuse me. Was that like 2015 or 2016 when the Master became Missy? Am I remembering the timeline correctly? And that's when this kind of stuff started ticking off. So yeah, it's people were getting, and it only got worse from there, honestly. And Shadow, I liked Missy too. 2013, 2017. Yeah, so Missy came around. They introduced the Master as Missy, I think in 2015. Was it his first season? Okay, so it was probably around 13 or 14. So that was like the beginning of all of this. That was the beginning of all of this, with Hollywood basically doing this, ramping things up. And you're always, and even before then, you're always going to get some people that are just waiting to throw out the toxic progressivity. You're going to get that no matter what. But it was like right at the beginning, and most people loved Missy. I loved Missy. I thought Missy was a great character. The Shrieking Eyes moment. Well, yeah. In the beginning, and then the audience fell off. Like, more men undoubtedly watched Jodi Whittaker's Doctor than women. And she had high ratings to start off with, and then they went off a cliff. And then they just buried themselves into the Earth's crust with Shooting Gatwa.
In entertainment, sometimes you get something that scratches the itch for both, but there definitely is a difference, and for the most part, I mean, we'll be honest, we watch different stuff.
We watched Doctor Who, though.
Together. We all watched, the entire family watched Doctor Who, because there's something for everybody, and then until there wasn't.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that though, because she's basically blaming men, but I'm like, again, Jodi, your premiere episode was one of the highest rated episodes of Doctor Who
Is it?
in New Who history. It was like 10 million,
Yeah.
11 million people watching it.
Yeah, because because people probably had the same thought that I did. This is the first time the Doctor was going to be regenerating into a woman in the history of the franchise, and this could be very interesting. That's why so many people tuned in, is because people were like, oh, this could be very interesting. This is something new that the Doctor had never done before. Yes, other Time Lords have regenerated from men into women, but this is the first time the Doctor's done it, so this is interesting. And people were tuning in, and they were intrigued. And then they took all of that goodwill and intrigue and interest, and they basically wiped their ass with it.
And then what turned people off was the show itself.
That's what I'm going to say. They keep blaming,
Yep.
and it's not just Jodi Whittaker. We see it with Star Wars. We see it with everything.
Yep.
Instead of taking responsibility and being like, maybe we did, maybe it could have worked with the female Doctor if we had actually made it like Doctor Who and not like his soap opera and all this other stuff. And we had actually kept the villains in it because we were trying to be cheap and all that.
Yeah. Tell me crazy. If you kept the Doctor, that is, you guys know, this has been my consistent complaint with Jodi Whittaker's Doctor. Jodi Whittaker's Doctor did not act like the Doctor. Jodi Whittaker's Doctor did not have the compassion that all the other Doctors had, especially when it came to her companions. All of the Doctors had a heartbreaking amount of compassion for everyone. We saw it with, we saw it with, the way all the previous Doctors interacted with their companions. We saw it, with the Doctor's enemies. She did not exhibit any of that compassion. And that can be attributed both to her acting and the writing. And that is, for me, that's what pushed me away from Doctor Who. I've told you the story, I'm not going to tell it again, but her lack of compassion, particularly for her companions, pushed me away from Doctor Who and made me go, I'm done. I'm fucking done with this show.
Shit. It's never because we screwed up, it's always because of men. It's like, it ends in why it's a man's fault. And it's really stupid and it's really old. And it's like, or maybe you guys have taken shows and movies and franchises that have a male-dominated audience, and you know that, and you try to make it a female audience, and you just fundamentally ruin everything about it. Because there was already women who watched it and liked it, but you had to ruin it. And that's what they're doing. They never take the blame. They never say, we probably should have changed it. It was probably a bad idea because it was resonating with both prior. No, it's always blame men. And it's a lazy, it's a cheap ass cop out.
Oh, game, I've gone on a rant about that.
So we're going to talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, can you muster a woohoo, Geeky? I know you're not feeling that well.
Woohoo! It's not that I'm not feeling well. It's just that I'm in pain.
Well, that's not feeling well because you're in pain.
Stupid dental stuff. Anyway,
stupid dental stuff.
Geeky.
Yeah. So, if you guys are not getting, if you're not getting notifications, go out to clownfishtv.substack.com, subscribe out there. You will get an email notification every time we upload a new episode, so you won't miss anything. So I know some of you are saying you're getting notifications.
Okay,
fine.
You said frick Doctor Who.
What? No, I didn't. I mean, granted, the show did drive me to say, fuck Doctor Who, Jodi Whittaker moving forward, but it's the curse of trying to cater to the mythical modern audience. That's what it's. I don't know why, but for some, we're into an age where the concept of girl power has turned into delusion. For some reason, somebody is telling these people at Hollywood that girl power means that you can just screw over half or the majority of your audience, but because you really want it, because you feel like you're doing the right thing, you will succeed. And nobody's bothering to tell them money doesn't fucking care about your feelings. So that's why they're failing. Because money don't care about your feelings.
We've had people write us and say, no, we're not getting them anymore. So,
well, if you're getting notifications, fine, then you don't have to worry
fantastic. About it. So this is coming from what? The Telegraph. Jodi Whittaker. Boys didn't look up to a female doctor.
Basically,
First female doctor questions why women could not be role models in a show playing an alien.
So now they're blaming children.
You're blaming boys. Yes, little boys. Whittaker said boys did not look up to her when she was cast as the first female doctor. If only someone could have foreseen that. If only someone who had played one of the most well-received doctors could have foreseen that happening. He was forced. I remember Peter Davison was forced to apologize on bended knee for saying awful things about Jodi Whittaker. And he wasn't saying awful things about Jodi Whittaker.
BBC.
He just said that Doctor Who is a role model for boys, has been for decades. And he questioned, whether or not turning the doctor into a woman was going to throw a wrench into things. And guess what? It did.
Also true, Shadows.
Did.
Yeah.
So they can apologize to him?
Yeah, they should apologize. Now, he is, and I mentioned it the other day, he's David Tennant's father-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
And he seems to be more on the conservative-ish side of things. I know he's butted heads with some of the other doctors. And then David Tennant's just, like you said, he's partaken of the Kool-Aid lately. And he's very, very political and very obsessed with Trump. For some reason, even though Trump is the president of another country.
I was going to say, because it affects him how?
It'd be like me obsessed.
Well, okay. It's when it comes to people saying so and so being the president in the U.S. affects people in foreign nations. It does, because you do have people in foreign nations that do idolize who's in charge in the U.S. There are a lot of movements that have occurred in foreign nations are a direct result of who is the U.S. president. It is reasonable to have, strong opinions in regard to that. Like the whole thing that happened in Canada, the trucker barricade or whatever the fuck it was that happened several years ago, that happened because Trump was president back during that time period. Because he was president and because of what he said, it spurned these Canadian truckers in Canada to do the convoy and to do their protest or what have you. Now, I'm not going to speak about whether or not they were right or wrong, how the Canadian government responded. I'm not going to speak on that, but C is the reason why they did that. So having strong opinions or feelings about who the U.S. president is when you do not reside in Canada is a legitimate thing to have, because the U.S. is a global superpower. How the U.S. functions has a direct effect on many foreign nations. So I've got having an opinion on that. It's fine.
Discussing about the queen or the king, it's like I don't think about, until somebody dies, I don't think about them. Following her 2017 unveiling as the 13th Doctor. Oh, yeah, they said Peter Davison, another former Time Lord, lamented the move, which he said had removed the vitally important hero figure for boys. Whittaker, 42, I don't think she's that old, has publicly questioned why her being a woman mattered, because she spent her childhood looking up to male actors who played the role.
Okay, she answered her own question. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
You answered your own question. They keep spinning it as women have. You have to have a role model that looks like you, right? And, I love Star Wars and I love Luke Skywalker, and it didn't have to be the same as me. And that's true. It doesn't have to be the same as you. But the problem is it's not just changing you as a doctor, because if you didn't change the doctor and acted like the doctor and just kept it that way and just kept moving on, Oh, here are the bad guys that are like we always fight, and just been doctor. That might be different, but you did it. You went. The whole show got turned into a soap opera, and it got turned into men are the villain.
Preach,
men
Tiki,
bad.
preach.
Men bad. We mentioned men bad. Ham fist, ham fist, ham fist. That.
What have I been saying? Preach it, Tiki. This is what I've been saying. It had nothing to do with the fact that Jodi Whittaker was playing a female doctor now. It had 99% to do with the writing and the showrunner. Like Kiki said, it was turning into a soap opera. They were also shoehorning in modern day ideology into the show. And they fundamentally changed who the doctor is. Not physically, but mentally and emotionally. They changed who the doctor is. If Jodi Whittaker had been the doctor and she continued to have the same core aspect of the doctor, it wouldn't have been a problem. If the stories had been like the same generalized Doctor Who stories that we had seen, no one would have had a problem. But when they changed the Doctor to Jodi Whittaker, they also changed the entirety of the series, and so it was no longer becoming recognizable as Doctor Who. This was not the Doctor Who that people had grown up with for years. It was not the same kind of stories. It was not the same kind of attitude of the Doctor, like I was talking about with the empathy to literally everyone. That's what changed. That's why people stopped liking it. Because you changed the fundamental core of the Doctor and of the show. And nobody could tell them any differently. If you tried to tell them, look, if the fans tried to tell the people working on the show, listen, this is not the Doctor. These stories are not good. We like the types of stories that you've been telling with Doctor Who for years. This is not them. And they responded with, you're being an istophobic. That is why you failed.
That's why it failed, even if you as a doctor as being a woman. But I love how, they want to turn it around now when it impacts them.
Jodi says it was fascinating that for some, we women could not be role models. The doctor is still the doctor, but also I was playing an alien. Now, to be fair, I'm going to be fair here as somebody who's watched Doctor Who for years. They established very early on in the show that Time Lords could regenerate into even other species. Because Romana's regeneration, she tried, quote unquote, tried on an alien body.
Yep, you mentioned this.
The doctor had made mentions before that, he could regenerate. He could have two heads. He could have no heads. He could be man, woman, whatever. But that aside, he always regenerated into another man. And it was just assumed that the doctor was going to be a man. So she said, her gender is not the issue. And here we had female Time Lords. We had Romana.
I don't think her gender was the issue. I think it was the fact that the
machinist. I like that.
The show sucked. Yes,
that would be fun.
I think the issue here is that she's blaming
Artists
it
in my
on
chat.
men.
Go.
She's blaming it on men, but the show sucked. If she was a female doctor, but it was the best effing Doctor Who ever, even though it's just woman, people I think would have given it more of a pass. Now, are people angry that they did?
Honestly, I'm going to be more generous than Neon on this. She didn't have to be the best doctor ever for people to quote unquote give her a pass. If she had been a good doctor, then people would have been fine. The misgivings people might have had about a woman taking on the role of the doctor would have been, would have gone by the wayside if she had been a good doctor. If she had exemplified the doctor, if she had, if the stories had been good or decent Doctor Who stories, people would have made noise about, it's a female doctor, the doctor's supposed to be a man. Yeah, there's going to be noise about it, but it would have died off really quickly or faded into the background. The problem is, she didn't exemplify the doctor, the stories sucked. Basically, everything they did raw. and they're blaming the audience for it because they fucked up. This is the typical narcissistic bullshit in Hollywood. We couldn't possibly have done anything wrong because we know better than you. It's all your fault.
The 13th Doctor became an uncompassionate thought.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Okay, I wasn't planning to rehash it, but I'll rehash it. This is what the moment that I gave Jodi Whittaker's Doctor a chance. The moment her doctor, when she was approached by one of her companions, Grant, who was an older gentleman who had had a bad cancer scare previously. He approached the doctor and said to her, "I'm scared my cancer's coming back." He came to her afraid that his cancer was coming back. He was looking for compassion. He was looking for, the doctor is the doctor. Like, if anyone's going to be able to give him advice or help him, it was going to be the doctor. He comes to the doctor saying, "Doctor, I'm scared. I think I went to my physician and I think there's a chance my cancer may be coming back and I'm scared." The doctor's response, the doctor who treats his companion, who is in every iteration previously, has treated his companions like fucking precious, the most precious things in the universe, looks at him and says, "I'm not really good at the compassion or the comfort thing, so I'm going to go over to the console here and pretend like I'm doing something so I don't have to have this conversation." That's not verbatim, but that's what she said. She gave one of her companions, whom the doctor is supposed to care about more than anything in the universe, the cold shoulder when he came to her when he was scared about cancer coming back. And that's when I said, I'm fucking done. The doctor is dead. Yeah, that happened. And that's when I went, I am fucking done. Theoretically, Zed, yes, which is probably why Graham approached her about it. And she just went, I'm not really good with the talking thing like this, so I'm going to go pretend I'm busy over here so I don't have to talk. That encapsulates the entire problem with Jodi Whittaker's Doctor Who. That encapsulates all of it. The fact that no one in that production could see how fucked up that scene was tells you everything you need to know and why people hated Jodi Whittaker's Doctor and continue to hate it all the way through Shooty Gatwa.
Turn the doctor into a woman. Yeah. And they have a right to be angry. You're allowed to feel however the hell you want to feel. I actually was willing to give her a chance, but the show itself
absolutely correct
is what did for me. Watching the first 3 or 4 episodes of her run, I'm like, this show is dog shit. Like if it was written as well as like, the later, the original Russell T Davies run or the Moffat run with Matt Smith, whatever, I probably would have given it a pass, but I'm like, this show is boring. And like you said, they sit around a coffee shop and talk. I'm like, this is not a show for guys to watch. And the dynamic is funny you mentioned that because I remember, I think it was the San Diego Comic-Con, one of the producers from Doctor Who is Julie What's-Her-Face, I think it was. She said
that's her name, What's-Her-Face.
Yeah, Julie, whatever her name is. But she said that women didn't want to be the companion. They wanted to be the doctor. And there were actually women in the audience that were disagreeing. I mean, look.
That's never a good sign when you have a producer for the show going, women actually don't want to be the companions. They want to be the doctor. And the fans themselves are going, wrong. You're wrong. That ain't a good sign. And again, narcissism. To quote a bad TV show, sheer fucking hubris.
The most successful Doctor Who has been, I think, with women in recent years was when they had, the love triangle thing going on. You had David Tennant and Rose, and then you had Matt Smith and Amy Pond and all that. Because women thought that was cool. You got into Doctor Who, New Who with the Matt Smith, Amy Pond thing.
Well, no, I was watching 9 first, but
yeah, but like, I mean, there was enough there, I think, that kept women glued to it. And look, let's be honest, a lot of women, they got hot and bothered for David Tennant and Matt Smith. And then when they switched from Matt Smith to Capaldi,
that's okay, Stefan. Have a great night.
There was a drop off, and I think the drop off wasn't just because of the show.
Broccoli, again, I'm going to disagree. I don't think it's a gender-driven casting.
Women don't want to be the doctor. The lie detector said that was a lie.
Nice, Leo. Nice. Yeah, I don't think I don't think it was a agenda-driven casting. It was agenda-driven story writing. It was agenda-driven script writing and show running. That's where the agenda was. I don't think it was in the casting.
And I love Pierre Capaldi, but I think it was, I personally think it was a bunch of women tuned out.
Yeah, I think it was too. But she's like, the really loud rage from a noisy few. Okay, here's the thing. You keep trying to argue this, right? It can't be the case. Your ratings were dog shit. Thing is, if it was just a few people that were mad, right? And everybody else still loved it. They loved the changes. Thought it was fantastic. You know, everybody that weren't white, straight men.
Okay, can we read these quotes here? If Peter Capaldi hadn't been good as the Doctor, it would have only reflected on him. That's what Peter Capaldi said. Whereas I felt that if I wasn't very good at this, I sucked it for other doctors. I think it's completely unacceptable in that case, but that's how I felt. This right here, I don't know if Neon or DT are going to read this, but this sounds like Jodi Whittaker was putting a hell of a lot more pressure on herself, and that's on her. This is something I think Jodi Whittaker did to herself and had nothing to do with the audience. No, I mean, Bronco, that is a fair assessment. No. Actually, no, it's not. Because they have. The current iteration of the Doctor proves you are unfortunately incorrect. Because Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor is completely agenda-driven. Ncuti Gatwa is a male doctor, and his entire run has been nothing but agenda-driven writing. So yes, they absolutely could have had, it wouldn't have mattered. It doesn't matter if it's a male or female doctor. Ncuti Gatwa is the current Doctor. That is who the current Doctor is. The 14th Doctor. Yeah, the current Doctor who is they just wrapped finishing the second season, and Ncuti Gatwa is done with Doctor Who actually, and there's a good chance that after the second season of Ncuti Gatwa's run, there is a fair chance right now that the entire show is going to be shelved. Ncuti Gatwa may be the last Doctor for quite some time. So yeah, it male or female doctor doesn't matter. BBC has proven that they have no problem doing agenda-driven stories regardless of the gender of the Doctor.
Then your ratings would have been glorious, wouldn't they? But they aren't, because people didn't like it. And that's the silent majority, not the noisy few. You cannot blame this. You cannot say it's only a few people who are mad, yet somehow tank the whole show at the same time. Schrodinger's fandom, again, you cannot have it both ways.
So this is what's interesting, though. She said she was sent into a spiral when she thought about how her performance may affect others because she was a woman. I don't even know. I think she's a good actress who had shit scripts and
that's happened to Capaldi.
Yeah.
I have to wonder if she's coming up with this, because you think about this. This interview is post her run. So I'm wondering if she's coming up with this as some kind of means to make excuses for why her run as the Doctor did not go well. And she does not want to throw the writers under the bus for some reason. So she's coming up with all these excuses about, it's because I'm a woman that was cast in this role. And that's why people hated it. And because she's not touched on the writing, which is the majority of what people had a problem with. The vast majority of the people who hated Doctor Who, starting with Jodi Whittaker, criticized the writing. They criticized the stories. They criticized the characters and the characterizations. The vast majority did not criticize Jodi Whittaker in the role. Some did, sure. There's always going to be some. But the majority had a problem with the writing and the stories. That was where people had the problem, not the casting. Ping, that is entirely possible. That is absolutely entirely possible, especially with the BBC.
What the BBC need to do is make the 14th Doctor go away like the Willow series, just make it go bye-bye.
Well, that's probably what's going to happen, Xanax. After season 2 of, after the next season of the Doctor that comes out, they've already filmed his regeneration sequence. Ncuti Gatwa's already filmed his regeneration. And he's done. And there is a good chance right now that after the second season of his Doctor, the show is done. There has been talk about bringing David Tennant back into it again, but I think Doctor Who may be done after the next season, at least for a while.
Capaldi is, and I've said it repeatedly, and I'll reiterate, Capaldi was my favorite New Who Doctor, hands down. Like, he was the best of both worlds. He had the sense of humor.
You can only do so much, Bobcat.
New Who Doctors, and he also had the gravitas, the authority that
like
a Tom Baker Doctor had. But he had shit scripts. Like 75%
his stuff was crap.
75% of the stuff, he was so wasted. Like,
well, Pink, you cannot put that on David Tennant. Again, that's the writers. Okay? With David Tennant's 3-episode specials, that was the writer. Bearing in mind, the second episode in that 3-episode special series was good. I liked the second episode because it felt like a classic David Tennant Doctor episode with him and Donna. It was the other 2 that were absolute dog shit. But again, that's on the writers. That's not on David Tennant. You can't throw that blame on David Tennant because of what the writers give him.
Like, he was so good.
Don't even start on Clara.
Yeah, Clara was away. But again,
that one is fair, dynamic.
So one of the first things they did was establish, when he became an older Doctor, that he was not Clara's boyfriend. And he literally says, "I'm not your boyfriend, Clara." Well, that never had to be stated in the original Doctor Who, right? In the original show, the Doctor was the Doctor. There were female companions or male companions. He was nobody's boyfriend or girlfriend. There was no romance. They just traveled with the Doctor. But he had to spell it out, and that was telling the audience, like, yeah, we're not doing the whole romantic subplot thing. And next time, we're going to make it more explicitly clear and give him a gay companion, so there's definitely no hanky-panky going on.
Oh, you mean some Bill and I'm a lesbian in every episode?
I wonder
Bill and still Bill was more insufferable or less insufferable than the new Doctor Who.
So absolutely. Like, I think Bill was okay. I just, like,
You talking about the Doctor never, like, had romantic interest in any of his companions? It was there with David Tennant's Doctor, with Rose. Well, yeah, I mean, that was the one time with Eccleston, and I'm pretty sure that was because Eccleston thought she was going to die. So I get the feeling that was maybe his way of trying to just express how much he cares for her. Maybe. It's been a while since I've seen the Bad Wolf episode. Like David Tennant's Doctor, there was romance with David Tennant's Doctor. There was romance between him and Rose. Matt Smith's Doctor, there was obviously romance between him and River Song. But the writers played with it very well. They did they did play with that very well, so it did not detract from the overall show and the overall story. And that's the key. That's what happens when you have good writers. You can have this kind of romantic undercurrent happening, and it doesn't detract from the show. It doesn't detract from the characters. Oh, right, yeah, yes. Yeah, that's right. He used that because she looked into the heart of the TARDIS, and he used that to draw that out of her. No, I think they did. No, I think he, Zeb, they were saying that there was some romantic tension in the new Who Doctors. That he said that he had said that previously, that with some of the new Who Doctors there was romantic tension, but with Peter Capaldi, with Peter Capaldi's run, he made it clear that they made it clear there's gonna be like no romantic tension with like him and Clara. That's what he said. He said earlier in this video that there was that the Doctor did have like romantic tension in previous iterations, i.e. Matt Smith's run and Peter Capaldi's. I can't remember where he said it at, but he did mention it. You just have to look in and playback. But Neon did mention it a bit earlier in the video.
She have to I think she's reminding the audience, don't ship the Doctor and Bill because it's not going to happen. Like they were so I mean, do I think that on some level the whole shipping thing might have gotten out of hand with Doctor Who? Yeah, but that was a big part of the audience, right?
Well, a lot of women left.
A lot of women left because there was nothing there for them now except
and then they thought, oh, make it the Doctor a woman, that'll bring women back, and it didn't.
No,
what he just said. Oh, okay. Hang on.
Because it's not going to happen. You're not doing the whole romantic subplot thing, and next time we're going to make it more explicitly clear and give him a gay companion. So there's definitely no hanky panky going on. Oh, you mean
here. Some Bill? And
is that what you're talking about, Zeb? Like where he was referring to where when Peter Capaldi said to Clara, "I'm not your boyfriend."
Friend or girlfriend, there was no romance. They just traveled with the Doctor. It was never established when he became an older Doctor that he was not Clara's boyfriend, and he literally says, "I'm not your boyfriend, Clara." Well, that never had to be stated in the original Doctor Who, right? In the original show, the Doctor was the Doctor. There were female companions or male companions. He was nobody's boyfriend or girlfriend. There was no romance. They just traveled with the Doctor. But he had to.
Okay, so no romance is not the same as underlying romantic tension. Yeah, again, there's a difference between no romance and no underlying romantic tension. Because while there was like some romantic tension between David Tennant's Dr. Rose and there was the romantic, more explicit romance between Matt Smith and Riversong. What I think Neon is saying here is it's not like I think Neon is referring to the Doctor and the companions were not a couple. That is what I think he is referencing, that there was no actual romance where the Doctor and one of the companions were a couple and they did couple things and they went on dates. There was none of that. I think that may be what his reference was to in respect to that. Like, there was romantic tension for a couple of them, but that was like a subcurrent. It did not in any way override the story. And Bobcat, she was kind of, you could qualify her as kind of, sort of. She, like, hung out with the Doctor enough. You could kind of, sort of consider her a companion because she was, hanging out with them through many of the episodes. I would kind of consider her a companion. But that's me. That's just my opinion.
Hanky panky going on.
Oh, you mean
here.
some Bill and I'm a lesbian in every episode?
I wonder
that you're Bill and still Bill is more insufferable or less insufferable.
Sure, why not?
The new Doctor Who.
So absolutely. I think Bill is okay. I just did she have to? I think she's reminding the audience, don't ship the Doctor and Bill because it's not going to happen. Like they were. So, I mean, do I think that on some level the whole shipping thing might?
She did, but she couldn't because she was in jail, Bobcat. That's the thing. River Song was in jail and the times that she traveled with Doctor, she escaped from jail. So that's why she wasn't constantly traveling them with Amy and Rory, and that's why she was just like constantly popping in and out. That's why.
Might have, gotten out of hand with Doctor Who. Yeah, but also that was a big part of the audience, right?
Well, a lot of women left.
A lot of women left because there was nothing there for
Zeb
them.
Roanoke is another YouTube channel, and no, it's not like that Amy Grindhouse.
And it didn't.
No, and to have the producer be that tone deaf, be like, oh, you want to be the Doctor, and then they're going to turn it into a soap opera. Yeah,
I the people that I talked to about Doctor Who were dudes, and they all didn't have a problem with it. The one who had a problem with it was me, and I was a woman.
Yeah, you actually had a bigger problem with it than I did. I mean, I was kind of like, well, we'll see where it goes. I'm like, technically, I guess technically a Time Lord could regenerate into the opposite gender. I mean, there's been precedent before.
And I said, yes, it might have been, but he's always been a dude, so it makes no sense now other than pandering to be a woman.
The smart thing to do in this case is you hire an actor that can carry Doctor Who, and you hire not for diversity, not just be like, oh, we're going to surprise people. It's like, no. You want Doctor Who to be consistent. You got to hire somebody who feels like the Doctor. And there are certain qualities that people identify as the Doctor. And,
But that's not just in the actor. The actor makes a part of it. The other part is the writing. To feel like the Doctor. I do think that Jodi Whittaker had the acting chops to do it. She was, from everything I've heard, she was excellent in Broadchurch. So I do believe she had the acting chops to take on the role of the Doctor, but the writing failed her. And so, you can have a phenomenal actor. They can't turn shit into gold, no matter how good they are. Despite popular opinion, no, every actor cannot turn a shit script into something good. When you are at the limitations of your script, you're at the limitations of your script. Revan? Tom Ellis would be a fantastic fucking Doctor. I would fucking love him as the Doctor. I think he'd be awesome. But they're not going to do it. Unfortunately.
She didn't have it, and Ncuti Gatwa doesn't have it. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Ncuti Gatwa Dancer don't got it.
You don't have the Doctor.
What they have is she had tits, and he's black.
And
gay.
Yeah, and they both. Yeah. I think they both would be good companions, but I don't think they have what it takes to be the Doctor. And it's not just because
that's why it needs to get shown.
That doesn't mean you're a bad actor.
10 years minimum.
Doesn't mean you're a bad actor.
You're not the right person for the role.
No,
that doesn't mean someone can't be black and be a doctor, or a woman and be a doctor. They just have to be the right person.
They have to have the right personality.
Joe.
Oh, and by the way, this right here is bullshit. I don't. Barathel, I don't know. I don't know if Daniel Craig could pull it off. Tom Ellis could, because Tom Ellis, when he was Lucifer, was kind of like a dark, sexually charged version of the Doctor when he played Lucifer. That's why I think Tom Ellis could do it. Do it fantastic. I think he would shine in the role. This right here is bullshit. His casting was not warmly received and popular with audiences. It was not. People, when they saw that he was cast, went, "Fuck me! They're kicking it up. They're kicking up the DEI another few notches." That's what people thought when they heard about his casting, and especially in his interviews, the way he was doing his interviews, it was just, oh, Revan, I have no doubt. I have zero doubt.
She was pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, Joe Martin. Yeah. Actually, I will go on record. I will go on record saying this.
Freaking writers were and are a bunch of numbnuts, dumber than a hydrogen atom on Doctor Who.
Yeah, and like he's even gonna like they actually had another female doctor in addition to Jodi Whittaker, which they are about to reference here. Jojo Martin in the Timeless Child episode played another version of the Doctor. And she actually did a good job. She was like an ass-kicking female doctor, and she did a good job. And it's kind of a shame that they didn't let her take over because they might have been able to course correct if they did.
You guys
Woman
can
and
clip
black.
it. You guys can clip it. I don't freaking care. Joe Martin was better than Jodi Whittaker, even though I absolutely hated the retcon. I hated that was what did it for me. That's where I'm like, Doctor Who is dead when they retconned the Doctor's origin.
Yeah.
And I was hoping they'd be like, oh, Joe Martin is like a far future version of the Doctor who thinks they were, you know, before the first Doctor. But that anyway, she was better than Jodi Whittaker. And I'll be honest, if they made her the 13th Doctor, she had that Doctor energy, I might have actually watched the show if the scripts were good. Because she had that, like the Doctor has to command the room. The Doctor can be lighthearted and funny, whatever. But even Matt Smith, even when he was a younger guy, when he gave one of his monologues, like it was good. It was like
that was one of the great things about Matt Smith's run. His monologues were chef's kiss. That was one of the that was one of the things you looked forward to when you watched the Matt Smith episodes. The monologues that he was able to give, the speeches he's able to give were amazing. And some of them were some of the most powerful speeches that you've heard. Like the Rings of Akatan speech. That was powerful. They were great.
Now you get it. The Doctor's in charge.
Damn,
I never got that from Whittaker. I never got
did.
that she was in charge.
No. Okay. Again, Paul McGann, I don't count him as having the quote-unquote shortest run because they had him for the film, the Doctor Who film, and that was it. He never had a series. Oh, okay, Revan, yes. Actually, technically, you are correct. Technically, John Hurt had the shortest run. Have sex? Yes, Grindhouse, yes, he is. Hello, then. Hi, readers. How's it going? How are you? Welcome in. They might have been about the same length, Zeb. They might have been close to the same length time-wise. Because like the Day of the Doctor was effectively a movie, so I think they may have been about the same. Hi, 11 and Raiders. Welcome in. How are you? How was your stream? Did you have fun? Did you beat up some people? Welcome in. We're just like we're at the tail end here. We're getting there. About Jodi Whittaker's who was the actress for Doctor Who a couple years ago, claiming that the show is failing because people supposedly hated the fact that she was a female Doctor Who in Doctor Who. So, beat up old men. Oh, right, stop it. We're only a couple minutes away. We'll get through this right now.
Now you get it. The Doctor's in charge. And I never got that from Whittaker. I never got that she was in charge. And
well, that's because you have a penis and you're the reason why it failed.
The reason why it failed. But yeah, so the future of Doctor Who's up in the air. Look, the damage was done with Capaldi, his era, and it wasn't him. It was the scripts. The scripts were shit. Jodi Whittaker, again, I don't think she was to blame. I think solely, I think that the scripts were absolute shit. The retcon was absolute shit.
Yeah.
And I think she's an okay actress, but she's just not the Doctor. But yeah, I mean, this is again, it's like another male franchise.
I still think she could have been if the script didn't fail her.
And then it collapsed because the formula you changed the Coke. People didn't want new Coke; they want classic Coke. And the thing is, you can't get them back a lot of times.
Plus, it always assumes that.
Going with Neon's analogy there, it's basically, yeah, they had Coca-Cola Classic. And instead of taking Coca-Cola Classic and just changing the can, but leaving the Coke the same, they did Coke 2. And they changed not only the can, but they changed the form, they changed the Coke inside, and people hated it. And instead of doing the smart thing of going back to Coca-Cola Classic, they decided to take new Coke and shower it with sprinkles.
Women don't like it. You know what I mean? It assumes that, we have to change it to women so women like it, but they keep assuming that women didn't like it the way it was. Like we didn't have female fans. It's like, but you did.
Yeah.
And then when you change it, you have even fewer fans, both male and female.
Yeah, that's it. And that's what I talked about last night. You sat that video out, but it was like a lot of times women watch the shows that are more male centric. They're watching it for the men. They want the men to be manly men. They don't want them to be like, look at what happened with Thor. They made Thor fat and stupid.
Oh, I hated that.
And then
I was attracted to Thor. I was never really, he's not my type, but that was stupid.
Yeah, but a lot of women liked Thor. They liked Hemsworth, and then they made him fat and stupid. And then they ultimately just replaced him with Jane Foster anyway. And you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's okay. They killed her too, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, so it's like whatever. But yeah, the franchise is dead.
Well, I mean, they made Thor fat in Endgame, which was stupid. I didn't like that they did that. And then when they did Love and Thunder, they made him an idiot. I mean, yeah, it was meant. But here's the thing, Dame. Like I've said this before, they could have had him start off looking like that, and then they could have basically montaged him back into being buff by the time the final fight came around. Which is what they did in Love and Thunder. They montaged him back to skinny. The problem is, in Love and Thunder, they made him a fucking idiot. And I hated Love and Thunder. I greatly disliked that movie. I thought it was terrible. And it's kind of what I think it's why Chris Hemsworth refuses to return back to the role. He is not doing he said he's not going to return back to Thor, at least until Marvel starts respecting the character again. Which means he's not coming back.
Dead. I mean, Doctor Who, I don't know if it can come back at all. Now, it's interesting. This is a side note. I don't know if these two things are related or not, but the biggest convention apparently is ending in 2028. They're retiring. And I'm like, yeah, of course they are, because there's nothing left of the fandom. Like, you're going to have declining returns. Like, I mean,
are you going to blame it on men?
Yeah, right? But they've been doing it for 40 years, whatever. I've never been to this one. It's Gallifrey 1, but they're ending the convention in 2028. And I think it's because the franchise is in the gutter. I mean, you'd think they'd sell it to somebody else. Who's going to buy it?
Yeah,
like, oh, let's buy a convention for a failing franchise. Nobody's going to attend. Nobody's, you know what I'm saying? It's just, it's sad. So there it is, guys. It's all your fault. Blame men. Blame boys, blame little boys.
That's what they always do. I mean, so Data Ends and Why, because that's all that the media keeps doing, and the stars in these shows keep doing. It's never their fault. It's never poor choices in the writing, and there are poor choices in the casting. Yeah. It's always the audience.
It's
is terrible,
narcissism.
And it's always that small group of toxic people somehow ruined everything. It's like, that doesn't even make sense.
Peter Davison warned you. He warned you.
Well, that's because he's a bigot.
Because he's a bigot, but he warned us all, and they did not listen. So let's wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.
Yeah, I mean, it's not unexpected. These are people that it's the modern writers where they are taught in schools all this bullshit that they're trying to shell out at everyone. And they're taught at a young age, this is the way to think, this is the proper way. If anybody tells you this, it's the whole fucking Netflix Cleopatra thing. I don't care what anybody tells you. X, Y, and Z. Hi, Robo Spartan. Thank you for the Prime. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, 11. I like it too. So, yeah, it's like these modern writers, it is literally sheer fucking hubris.